What's the social context? Peter chose one of the most difficult places to minister. When you read 1 Peter, the address there tells us he was writing to the most secular. So if you live in a secular part of the world, this works. The most secular part of the world, it worked. The most emperor-worshipping part of the world, the gospel worked. The most hostile to the gospel territory of the Roman Empire, it works. During COVID, Bonnie and I didn't even know about COVID. We were overseas. We were in Korea, I think, teaching when it just started. And we started seeing on the news, people really sick in China. And then we got back to America. And you know how it went in 2020. So we were already scheduled to be out in all these. I was scheduled to teach in Hungary, and then after Hungary in, Thailand. I don't remember, all these places. And suddenly our board called and they said, we're businessmen and they're not letting us out of our airports in our towns. They're stopping flights and everything. They said, we don't think you're going to be able to do that. You ought to get plan B. So I realized something was going to change. And so we started teaching in our basement. A group of volunteers came and turned our basement into a little studio. And I taught Isaiah, and then I taught Proverbs, and then I taught Revelation in our basement in March, April, and May. And as you all know, something happened to the whole world. Everyone was closed in. And for the last 18 months, we've been hearing about the people that watched the classes that I was teaching to 18 kids in Korea, or 40 kids in Budapest, or I was even teaching, kids in Florida and New York that were doing remote education, a couple hundred in New York and 150 in Florida. And those classes we put on YouTube, and Isaiah was watched 1 million times on YouTube. Isaiah, there's nothing exciting about it. Have you read Isaiah? 1 million times. And I was just watching. I thought, wow, I had 18 kids that I spent, 15 hours with. And then I posted them, and all of a sudden, who are these people? And so Bonnie and I started praying every night. I said, Lord, would you let us start hearing from these people that are watching these classes? The reason I'm saying that is, I said, the most secular, emperor-worshipping, hostile territory. Immediately we started getting notes. One of our first notes was from Berkeley, California. You know anything about Berkeley? That is the cutting edge of American wokeness. And this person at Berkeley said, I'm full-time at Berkeley, and we don't have no students on the campus. And so I have to come to work wearing my mask, and I'm watching, and I started typing in, all kinds of stuff. And he said, the long story short is, I started watching Isaiah. I wondered what it was. And this man said, I got saved. He said, I went home to the woman I was living with and said, not the first day, but as he kept studying, he said, within the first 2 weeks, he said, I went home and I said, honey, either you're going to have to move out or we're going to have to get married because this isn't right. I thought, wow. Now, I didn't hear about all this until I got a note from him with a link. And he told the whole story. He said, I'm sitting at Berkeley, paid by Berkeley, watching videos because we had to be at work, and I was sitting there with my computer. He says, I get saved. He said, I consider you discipled me. I went home and shared my wife, or my girlfriend said, either you move out or marry me, but first you need to watch this video. And he gave her, My Sheep Hear My Voice. She watched it. She came to know the Lord. And the link he sent was her baptism at a downtown San Francisco church that she showed up and said, I became a Christian. This guy on YouTube said I need to be baptized. So they got a horse trough and brought it into the church. And the pastor baptized her. And I thought, did you know the gospel works in secular, emperor-worshipping, hostile to the gospel parts of the world? Well, here's the summary. Peter spends 8 chapters in 1st, 2nd Peter encouraging early believers to endure persecutions and all the challenges of living out their faith. And then, when he got done writing it, Gospel by Mark, and then 1st, 2nd Peter, he was executed by crucifixion. Peter was martyred at Nero's circus, and I showed you last night. Right there it is. It's that little racetrack, which is right here. This is what the archaeologists say it looked like. It's a gigantic chariot racing circle with a spina. That's that little line down the middle where they mark the laps, and the chariots would go around it. And in the middle of the spina is a Roman obelisk that the emperors helped themselves to when they conquered Egypt. They hauled 7 of their obelisks out of Egypt and put them in all of their chariot racing places. And that obelisk, you can kind of see it's off center, a little left of center there, is still there. And it now is the focal point in the center of St. Peter's Basilica. And that's the place where Peter was crucified.